Welcome to DIY with RP. Today we continue to strip the red 2003 Boxster S. This particular car is almost done. We're going to go through and show some of the remaining steps of stripping out the suspension, the braking system, the interior, and then we'll complete this teardown with engine removal at the end of the video. So here you can see I'm finalizing the suspension removal. This is the last side of the four corners that needs to come out. Once this side is out, I'm going to lower the car down, pull off the fender, and begin taking things apart on the inside of the car. Today we are actually doing a little bit more work on the interior of the car. I'll give you a quick walk around so you can see some of the work that's been done already. It's been going really good. These cars are incredibly easy to work on, much easier than I thought they were going to be. So we'll do a quick walk around, then I'm going to get stuck in and start pulling things off from the interior. So since we have some quiet time here, there's no music playing in the background, I'm going to go through some of the things that we've been working on here. I cleared out the trunk. So there was a panel back here that had some relays and stuff on it. I pulled that out, pushed all the wiring through. And this is the loom for that panel and a couple other things. And then this loom over here is for the engine, and the ECU used to be right here. So that just gets pushed through the wall. This has been unbolted. This bolt actually broke. It's a little rusty, and I still need to break the one at the bottom free, and then that whole assembly can be free. But the whole trunk is pretty much empty. The mechanism was already broken, so I just ripped it out. Over here, you can see all the hardtop motor, everything. Strangely, I thought it was like a whole big motor unit. It's just two little flat reels on either side, and then they attached with cables all the way around to the center motor. It pulls everything to like lift and pull the top bag. It was a really interesting setup, but it worked really well apparently, because these are pretty solid tops from what I've seen. Now on the inside, I was able to get the seats out yesterday. You needed a E-Torx, which I didn't have here with me, so I had to bring them from home. And once I got that stuff done, it was pretty easy to get those seats out. My buddy came in here a little while ago and got the center console out. Still struggling a bit with some of the cabling and whatnot, but that's coming along nice. And I think I'm gonna, well, I don't know. I'll either pull the door panels or the doors completely, or just maybe pull the steering wheel and a couple other bits off of the dash. I'm gonna walk around. I got the fender and the rest of the suspension off. All that's really left is the sway bar, I think, and maybe the steering rack of the things that I might want to use, but I'm not sure if this is damaged, so we'll know once it comes off. I'm hoping that the sway bar isn't bent on this side, because this side took a pretty big hit, as you can see. And yeah, it's going really well. I just don't have a ton of time to just sit here and just rip stuff out. And plus, if you look over here, we're trying to catalog everything and make sure it's bagged and stays with the components that come out. It's like these are the hardtop mechanisms, everything's in its own little bag, and it's labeled. We just got bags everywhere, trash, things that need to get thrown away. And then once the interior comes out, the last thing is going to be that guy right there. What I'm thinking we're going to do is get it ready and then just lower it down onto a pallet. Once that's free, we'll pull out anything that's left inside the car, and then the car will go to scrap. And we're done with this shell. So that's it. Let's do some wrenching. I've never removed a dashboard from the interior of a car, so today is more or less trial by fire. My buddy Marcelo came in and actually removed the center console and started taking out the shifter and the e-brake. There was some things he couldn't quite figure out, so I just, pulled out the old phone and Googled it and found the solution and got it all apart. And then moved on to the steering wheel. There's two screws that hold the airbag on, and then one large nut that holds the wheel onto the column.
I believe those screws are T20 or T25 on the back, and then the nut in the middle is either a 17 or a 19 millimeter. There's no taper on the column, so the wheel just slid right off. And then I proceeded to remove all of the center sort of, vents and controls and everything to expose where some of those screws are that are holding the dash in place. This process is fairly straightforward. There are a couple of screws here and there that were hidden, particularly around the this dash bezel here. They're inside of holes. You have to have a Torx bit that's long enough to get to those screws, but once you get to them, it's fairly straightforward. So I took about a week off from this project so I could focus on a couple other things that I was working on, and in that time Marcelo and Chucky come in and helped with some of the dash removal and some other items. It was a great help because most of the work on the dash was done, so all I had to do was locate about 3 or 4 screws, and it literally just slid right out. So on the top of the dash, there's like a light sensor or something that has 3 screws in it. One of the screws, the center screw, was the one that was holding the dash into like a vent panel or something like that, and then there were 2 other screws on either side of the center sort of console area where the radio and everything goes, all the way in the back of the dash. So it was a little fiddly to get back there, but once those screws were loose, the entire thing just slid right out. The next issue was getting the turn signal stock out, but there's only like one 8mm screw that was holding that in place. While it's not shown here, I did conclude the interior removal process by removing the carpet. That was fairly straightforward. It's just a couple of screws on the dead pedal rest and a screw on the accelerator pedal. Once you get that screw out, you have to slide the accelerator pedal straight up, and it just comes out of its slot, and the carpeting is velcroed in the middle behind the dash, and you just take that off and the carpet pulls right out. It was super easy. So now we get into what I consider the most fun part, and that is engine removal. Since we had removed so much from this car, getting the engine out was really, really easy. There wasn't much left holding things in place. It was, I believe, a total of 4 bolts in the front and 2 bolts on each side of the engine near the transmission. And then I believe it was the power steering line and the AC lines, which there was nothing in the system. I guess it had purged itself when the car was crashed, which means that we didn't have to call any professionals to drain that system. But once we loosened up those AC lines and a couple of lines on the other side, the clutch line particularly and the power steering line, the engine literally dropped right out. And luckily we had this pneumatic table from Harbor Freight, which enabled us to raise the car up enough that we could still walk under there and unbolt things, and then the table would catch the engine. We could lower the table and slide it out. And here I am, super stoked that we finally got it done, and I do my little victory dance as I am lowered to the ground. And now all we have to do is finish taking a few more things off of this old pile of junk, and it is going off to the scrapyard. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. The next step will be finalizing the teardown on this. There's a couple of other little odds and ends, and then the black car will come in and we'll basically do the exact same thing all over again. So have a great day. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that stuff. Check out the links in the description if there's anything from this project that you might need, any equipment, anything like that. I do provide links for all that stuff. Take care.